Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the 19th hole. We are live on In Between Media. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the whole damn channel, jingle that bell. We have reached a tradition unlike any other. Hello, friends. I'm not Jim Nance, but shout out NorCal. Jim Nance does live there. We reached Masters Week. Got my green jacket on. Actually, it's in the wash. Very exciting to lead into one of the best tournaments of the year. Every golf fan's favorite major, the Masters at Augusta National Golf Club down there in Georgia, down in the holler. We're gonna hit it. We're coming off a big win. We were both on Ashkay Bhatia last week. We'll cover that real quick, but we're gonna jump right in on down Magnolia Lane. Jump in. Conor Coughlin, as always, alongside myself, Bo McBrayer. You can follow us on the Twitter machine at underscore DFS, at Bo underscore McBigtime. We have arrived at the year's first major 2024 Masters. I'm already hyping it up in the comments. Sexy azaleas. I got my azalea cocktail I poured earlier. Look how pretty that thing is.
Been a while since I've seen one of those.
Extra cherries for you, Connor.
Every time.
And we're going to talk a lot about the live guys who are back on the forefront. We got Steve Anderson with me on Brooksy. And Seth is just here for the pimento cheese sandwiches. Can't blame you. Those are fire. $1.50 at Augusta National if you got $2,200 to pay for a day pass. And no love for me in the poll. I don't know what poll you're talking about, but
it's got to be in regards to your live comment, but I'm with you on that. So at least you got one vote.
Breezy's locked in. Let's get locked in with you. Royal disagrees with me. He likes the Open. That's a strong second place finisher for me. Seth, big week coming. Breezy and Steve, he can smell it. I can smell the pimento cheese. Sweet Georgia.
I'll leave the singing to you, bro.
Good. That's good. All right, Connor. Well, how do you feel? It's Masters Week.
I feel good. I feel great.
I'm so freaking psyched, man. This is the best week for golf. Golf fans everywhere, just ready to go for Thursday.
It's also really nice to come into it with a win under our belt. So that if we get one more, they call that a streak.
It's happened before. Ashkay Bhatia coming through for both of us last week, 55-1 in most books, 65-1 up to, as what I saw, some of my followers that tailed me. One guy had a $500 bet to win 4,000 plus. Outstanding win, gentlemen and ladies. I'm excited. I got a nice fat bankroll to burn on the Masters. 89 golfers, invite only at, let's just say, a course that can drive any professional to drink.
You're just going to bet them all just to ensure the victory.
Hey, I can't lose that way. I won't look at the bottom line, but
no. So, and I know last. Well, I was going to say, I know last week, like I was late to the party on Akshay, but you know, it was getting to a point where it's hard to deny how freaking good he is with not only just irons, but like the way he can shape shots and the way he can play in wind. I mean,
and his chipping, very, very underrated. And his putting with the new broomstick has been much better. Him putting middle of the pack and finding fairways or just being in play, that's all he needed. We'd be remiss, though, if we didn't talk about Denny McCarthy's back nine on Sunday, though. 8 putts total on the back nine. 92 putts in 72 holes, tied a PGA Tour record. that's insanity, especially with how tough the greens at TPC San Antonio are. That guy put on a clinic. And I think Akshay threw out his shoulder, fist bumping, because when you have no muscle around your shoulder socket to stabilize it, it's bound to happen. That putt was massive. Like, talk about a sigh of relief. I was shitting bricks because Denny McCarthy was the only guy I didn't have a bet on in the top 5, and I was already locked up all those placement bets. And with a 6-shot lead making the turn, I thought I was already celebrating. I was already drunk, happy with Akshay's victory. And here comes Denny McCarthy shooting at 28 to to pretty much win, unless Akshay made that straight downhiller from 12 feet. And when that went in, I jumped out of my chair. I was sitting next to Kelly in Phoenix, who visited over the weekend. Shout out to Kelly. We were both celebrating, hooting and hollering, waking up the neighbors. Big sigh of relief. And then, of course, when McCarthy chili dipped his wedge shot into the creek, we knew it was over. We have all been there as golfers. Maybe not on the first playoff hole of a tournament like that, but yeah, I think all of us have chili dipped a wedge into a penalty area. How about you, Connor? That's never happened to you?
Never once in the history of playing golf. I've never fallen victim to that. But you can definitely let everybody know what it feels like. I know it's a consistent behavior, so.
Yeah, I felt the same way he did, where as soon as he hit the ball, he knew it was bad, all bad.
Yeah, you can't take anything away from him. I think the other thing too, and I know it's a 50-50 on people's interpretation of it, but I like the signs of life out of Rory. I think we're going to definitely talk about Rory tonight, but
solo third.
And not that he was anywhere near taking the win away from Akshay, but
encouraging signs, very encouraging signs, especially with what he's been struggling with the last season, like the last calendar year. What has Rory struggled with? Wedge play, approach play, and his short game has been atrocious. What
he's had the lefts off the tee, right? And like that's actually been kind of like, normally you can count on Rory to gain off the tee no matter what and be consistent and put himself into a position where he's at least having the looks. And that was getting to be a little questionable over the previous few starts. So it was reassuring to see him putting it together, even in San Antonio. It was nice to see him putting it together coming into Augusta. So
I think he needed that, really, for a confidence boost, at least.
For sure.
And I think you'll be surprised at how high I am on Rory this week. Just a little teaser there. Are you drinking anything special?
We got plenty of other shit to argue about tonight. So I haven't had this in forever. I was dusting off some bottles and I had a little bit of
Blender Dog
that left hiding on the shelf. So by a little bit, I mean little bit. So we'll be through this probably.
Sweet corn delight. It's corn,
dude. And I forget how sweet this is. Like
super sweet.
Oh, it's so goddamn good. So that'll be going down, and then if we get to that point, we're gonna polish off the old Bobby Jones Estate Clover rye.
There we go.
So
hey, that's fitting. And let's jump right into the Masters, because we have a lot to cover. This golf course is everything, and I would say it's a difficult course. It's all up here between the ears, and that's what makes it a crazy challenge, because everything that this tournament represents is special to everybody who attends it and competes in it, and the pressure that mounts from that makes this course look like it's a bear, when in reality, if you just take away all the pageantry, this course is gettable. And so let's hit the caddy notes. We'll see you in 30 seconds.
The guy in the driving range in the moccasins gets me every time. We don't talk about him enough.
Yeah. I don't like to talk about him.
he's a true player.
I've definitely worn moccasins to the driving range. Let's just say that.
I'm not saying I haven't worn like slides or something, but anyway.
I always wear slides, but I have worn actual moccasins to the driving range because I couldn't find my slides.
Not surprised.
They were actual beaver fur moccasins too. It was pretty cool.
Just shorn from your beard, I'm sure. But so we are at the Masters in Augusta National Golf Club in Augusta, Georgia. Par 72, 75, 55 on the yardage.
Ooh, it's a beast.
Bent grass throughout here. Augusta is definitely a true all-around test of players. Bo alluded to it, but it is a massive mental game, mental test. You're going to need strong mental fortitude. Definitely favors experience and course knowledge. I don't know that I 100% think that that's the only thing that can propel you to victory here. And we'll talk about some of those guys later. But specifically what you're looking at is it's a second shot course. So landing spots off the tee are going to be pretty critical, knowing where to place the ball, misses that are acceptable on approach, the correct tiers of the green. And then once you're on the green, really understanding how like slick and fast these greens can be. They got a ton of undulation to them. They got a ton of tiers that you're going to have to deal with. So again,
shit ton. Just
knowing where to put the ball is a big part of this. The walk itself is super challenging. So massive elevation changes throughout. There's really no true flat spots here.
Not a one.
I jokingly say almost every year that we've done this, I think if you find yourself hitting anywhere near a flat spot or even standing on a flat spot, you're probably out of position or in the rough in the pine straw. I mean, typically.
Or just on the tee box.
Yeah, and even that, you get some vertigo looking down at some of these fairways. But
oh my God. And then the sight lines, don't forget about the sight lines. This is set up to be intimidating off the tee for players who are maybe a little squirrely. Like if your accuracy is not honed in, those little windows that they present you for putting the ball in the fairway are tiny. Like especially off 18, where what was it? Phil said it was like hitting up a gnat's ass.
Yeah.
That's how narrow some of these little openings are to find the appropriate landing spot to give yourself a decent approach. And a decent approach means under the hole, beneath the hole at all costs, because we just saw a homemade stimp meter rolling downhill. Instead of 10 feet, it rolled 35 feet, and uphill it rolled 3 feet. So that's how crazy it. If you're above the hole here, you're absolutely screwed. You're looking at double bogey. If you're below the hole, you can make a lot of birdies.
And you hit on it just a second ago. Augusta is definitely a gettable place. Like if you know your way around, or you've had at least a few good practice rounds walking it and getting your strategy together, it's a lot more straightforward maybe than what it appears. And so I think that's where I said you don't necessarily have to have the experiential knowledge, as long as you've gotten a couple of good walks in with the guys that do. So as long as you've got a game plan and you can execute it, this course really is just about being precise, accurate, and knowing where to go. Been a few changes over the last couple of years. Probably the most notable two is hole 13, which is Azalea, was lengthened up to, I believe it's up to 585 now. Which 13,
545,
yeah, 545. And then hole 2,
it was 510, so it was basically a long par 4 before.
And then hole 2 also got extended.
That one's 585.
Yep, that's the one. I got the yardage backwards on them. So been a couple of quotes about number 2 in specifically. Rory called out that it really doesn't look all that different to him. Thought it was going to be a much more pronounced right to left shot that needed to be hit, and it really isn't. So I think that one's, even though it's playing a little bit longer, shouldn't be too much more treacherous than before. Tiger was talking a little bit about some of the new pin locations on 2, 4, and 6. A little bit more middle of the green positioning. That's going to be a little bit trickier. It's going to bring in more of the break, more of the tiers on those greens. So a few tricks up the sleeve this year. But overall, super epic and beautiful course to watch. This is easily my favorite tournament to watch every single year.
Yeah, easily for me too.
The only other thing to talk about, like we do every week, is the weather here. So going to have thunderstorms and probably some pretty good wind, at least part of the day on Thursday. Definitely going to have some pretty high winds starting on Friday. It's going to build throughout the day. You're probably talking gusts between 20 and 30 miles an hour at times. And then the weekend could be more the same with mild winds in the morning, but building later throughout the day. So definitely something to keep in mind. It's definitely out in the forest, well protected. So the wind does come into play, but it's not going to be as brutal as like the last 2 weeks have been. So.
Yeah, and it's tricky because of the pines that you're meandering through. It's in the middle of a dense forest. This is a remote part of Georgia where, like, Augusta's already a small town, and they tuck this private club back in the holler where you got all these Georgia pines and protection from the wind. But like on hole 12, you might think the wind is helping you. In reality, it's a crosswind or even in your face, and it's tricky. Like you have to know the course based on the wind patterns as well, just from playing it. And that's where, like, not just in practice round like you said, but course history here is so important, because going around here the first time in a championship atmosphere is extremely challenging, and the stats bear it out, where newcomers, first timers at the Masters are, I think, 2 or 3 strokes worse on average than experienced players, which is a massive difference when you consider a tournament of this caliber.
So what are you thinking for score-wise? I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere in that 10 to 13 range under par, probably a cut around 1 or 2, which is another point to make. The cut is 50 players here for the weekend, so 50 and ties get through to the weekend. I think we're sitting at 89 players still, barring any withdrawals or additions. So,
right. And even Minwoo Lee has a broken finger and he's playing through it.
Yeah, I read something on Twitter like right before we came on that he's seemed to be without pain and hitting the ball well. So
yeah,
go get him.
I think it's going to be 12 to 14, like it usually is. Like that one outlier year where the winner was at 20, that was when it was soft and gettable the whole week. I think 12 to 14 with a cut around even +1 sort of thing is what I'm looking at. I think the wind won't be as much of a factor as we think, because even gusts up to 20 with all the tree protection, it might not bear out to be anything really.
Yeah, like you said, the only thing with the wind is that it does swirl in there, and there are a couple of holes where it's super tricky. But as far as wind being a factor the way it was the last 2 weeks, like I said, I don't. That's not going to be the case. So, what else we got for you? Previous winners: Rahm last year, 12 under; Scheffler the year before at 10; Hideki before that at 10. With one of my favorite Masters moments with his caddy and him bowing to Augusta, which was amazing. DJ in the odd year during COVID, where it was played earlier in the year at 20 under before that, and then Tiger Woods at 13 the year before that.
And that was my favorite golf moment ever.
Incredible.
Yeah, I was bawling like a little baby in 2019. And of course, the reverent finish when Hideki won a couple of years ago was incredible. Like that, like every time Hideki wins, like Riviera, it was a similar thing where he wasn't even happy with his own performance, but he won with a historic round, and it seemed like the moment wasn't lost on anybody but him. And I think that's what kind of finish we can expect this week, is something historic that we haven't seen before, that's going to probably move us. Like that's how beautiful this tournament is. It's not just championship golf, it's everything around the golf course, the pageantry, the traditions. Everything here means something big for the world of golf. That's why this tournament gets so much fanfare, and that's why I can't wait to throw a bunch of money on betting this tournament, because out of 89 golfers, I only like 9 or 10 of them like enough to bet them. So let's hit the club twirls. Connor, are you ready?
Born ready.
All right, 20 seconds. All right, starting at the top, we got the world number 1. Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, baby season.
I don't know if our fearless leader is trying to tell us something with that quote. If so, congrats, Seth.
Yeah, muscle tough. Let's see. Starting at the top, plus 475, plus 450 for world number one, Scotty Scheffler, with or without baby incoming. Extremely short number, but this guy is on a real heater. He was already the best ball striker on the planet, and now he's found some kind of putter. Look out, world. What do you think his odds are? If you were to handicap Scotty Scheffler, where would you put the number?
I honestly, I don't know. I wouldn't know. I mean, one of the only things that stuck with me so far from listening to all of these broadcasters ramble on the last few days is Scotty is probably the most likely candidate we've ever had for a wire-to-wire blowout win.
It's very possible.
It's the only intelligent thing that Brandon Chambly has said in the last 2 days. And I'm inclined to side with him here. Like 450 is much shorter than I would normally take, but Scotty, for some reason, that just seems like you gotta bet it. You gotta bet it because if he comes out on fire,
normal. Yeah, if he makes putts on Thursday, we could be looking at Akshay Bhatia without a Denny McCarthy comeback.
Yeah, and if he can manage to go wire to wire, I mean, that number is not going to move. I mean, 450 is going to be the best you're going to see. So
that's true.
I for one am gonna take Scotty outright at 450. It's short, but I truly believe that he has a very good chance at winning this tournament. And we're just hoping that baby holds off for another few weeks.
Yeah, or just until Monday, right?
Yeah, Monday would be perfect as long as we don't get pushed too far on Thursday with the weather.
And then you get your classic newborn shot inside the green jacket.
That'd be awesome.
I love having Jon Rahm at more than 10-1. He's at 11-1 right now. Defending champ. Defending champs haven't done well here. There's only been 3 repeat winners in the history of the Masters: Jack, Tiger, and Sir Nick Faldo. Pretty good company. Jon Rahm maybe hasn't been taking things overly seriously since jumping to live, but defending champion with his world-class all-around game. Not typically good on fast greens, but we saw him last year do just fine on these greens. And for a guy of his caliber to be more than 10-1, I love that line. And I think I would start there because I'm going to be looking for a little bit of a slow start for Scotty to live bet him when he slips to a similar number. Let's say he tees off and maybe has a deficit to make up. Our live odds can move that way if he doesn't start off hot. I think I'd rather do that. But Jon Rahm at 11-1 seems a really long for him, especially coming in as the defending champ. That just makes no sense to me because this is a favorites type tournament. There's a lot of guys at the top here that have had a lot of success here. For me, that's where I start.
Yeah, you said it too, and I'm in a very similar boat. Like my betting card is pretty condensed this week. There's about 9-10 guys that I like, and that's pretty much where I'm sitting. A couple of them are very short. So yeah, I'm on Rahm as well for all the same reasons you just said. I'm also going to go after Rory, and Rory has moved from
he's a front runner this week.
Went from plus 1,000 to plus 1,100. So Rory's going the right direction. You might be able to hang on a little bit longer and see if that number slides just a little bit more. Hopefully it does. But realistically, I think the things that have always held Rory back here are all mental. And I think in a lot of ways, some of the air has been cleared around some of the live controversies. It doesn't seem to be that he's having to answer quite as many questions, deal with quite as much politics this time around. He's done a good job of separating himself from the media, from some of the, events and pageantry, as you said. So he seems to be very focused and seemed to be in a very good place mentally and with his game last week. So going into a place that he has a ton of experience with, hasn't been able to get it done, does have a couple missed cuts in his last few appearances, but prior to that, finished, I believe, in all his other starts is inside the top 10, including a runner-up. He's no slouch and chasing that Grand Slam. I mean, I don't know that there's anybody more motivated than Rory McIlroy this week, especially after last year's performance here. So I love Rory at 1,100.
Rory comes in number 1 in my model. which is because he's number 1 in driving distance, number 1 from tee to green, and number 1 from long approach distances. He's also number 8 on par 5s, which is essential here. If you're not birdieing and eagling par 5s here, you have no chance. And Rory coming at number 1 is eye-opening because we just saw him really do well last week. He didn't win, but he showed well, and he showed well in the areas that he hadn't been showing well in the last year. So I will like to play a little bit of Rory, mostly in DFS, because I'm liking Rahm a little bit more at that number. Same number, 11-1. And you said maybe nobody was more motivated to win the Masters than Rory. I see your Rory, and I raise you a Brooks Koepka. And I know you're going to disagree with me here, but Brooks Koepka has been dangerously close to getting his first green jacket. He's a 5-time major winner. This guy shows up. His putting woes resemble Rory McIlroy's putting woes, honestly. Switching to a mallet putter recently, just like Rory did. This guy, iron play is his strong point. He's a masher off the tee. And when the chips are down and the pressure is on, this guy is unbeatable. And I've seen Brooks Koepka take down majors where it looked like he had no chance, but he just buckled down and made it happen. He's been runner-up twice here. And I think that this guy's hungry to finally get that green jacket.
I hate Brooks Koepka this week. There is nothing going on with Brooks Koepka right now to indicate that he is anywhere near the type of form of the big game hunting major Brooks that everybody talks about. Nothing. I think
we said the same thing last year when he was runner up, though.
Yeah, but everybody said the same thing about big game hunting Brooks the 2 years prior where he missed the cut. So you can make the argument anyway, and I like the to make a cut bet on Brooks here, or to miss the cut rather, plus 325. I'm so sure that he's going to miss the cut that I'm definitely putting that on the card. If you look at what he's doing over on Live right now, it is abysmal golf. Like, he's not even like
if
there's
you
nothing
think
about
Live
his
finishes mean anything, then you're already lost.
No, Live
Dean
finishes
Burmester won last year or last week.
Live,
Dean Burmester. What is a Dean Burmester?
Live finishes don't mean anything, but when you shoot back-to-back 77s, you cannot tell me that his give a fuck quotient is even remotely there right now. Like,
it shouldn't be. It's the Live Tour.
Nah, he should be tuning up just like the rest of these guys. And I think that Brooks is the biggest fan of Brooks in the world. I think Brooks thinks he's going to show up and dominate.
He's the second biggest because I'm the biggest.
I'm telling you, I do not like Brooks this week. I would much rather play Neiman. I'd much rather play Bryson, who I really like this week.
Really?
I'm not even looking at Brooks, not in DFS.
What has Bryson ever done in the Masters?
A lot of things to like about Bryson, but we can get to Bryson in a minute. But
his tee shot, but his second, third, and fourth shots are bottom rung.
Yeah, I mean, we'd be skipping people to drop down to Bryson right this second.
I know, I'm not ready to talk about Bryson yet, but I'm with you on Neiman. I'm with you on Matsuyama. I know you didn't say him yet, but I'll throw Hideki out there because this guy's blazing hot this season. Another strong finish last week. Give me Matsuyama at 20-1. I liked Koepka a little bit more at 20-1. He's down to 18-1 right now. That's still a pretty short number for a guy of his caliber in majors, but I'm still going to bet him. Dustin Johnson down there with Bryson. I'd play Dustin Johnson 1 trillion times before I played one Bryson DeChambeau. Bryson DeChambeau is going to miss the cut by 5 strokes.
Oh, he's not
no short game. No short game. 0.
So his short game actually this year, I mean, not that you can use Live to gauge that, but his short game is actually pretty decent. What he's been doing. He's also got infinitely better like placement results. He's actually playing and competing with the good guys on Live, unlike Brooks, who's playing against Charles Schwartzel. So I mean, I mean, let's just be realistic here. Bryson's in excellent form over there, playing against big name guys who he's going to see this week. He also has toned down some of the chase for distance. He's toned down some of the muscle building. He's getting back to what made him a major winner on the PGA Tour, and focusing on plotting his way around the course and being intelligent about how he does it. The other thing I love about Bryson coming in here is he's all over social media. He's all over just interviews in general, and he's in a great mind space, which is always a huge challenge for Bryson. So I really think that Bryson's going to kind of surprise a lot of people who are on a lot of the other live guys. Bryson's distance is a weapon, especially in a more wide open situation like Augusta. And his approach game actually is pretty good. His around the green game can be sketchy, but he's got experience here. So
yeah, he's 78th in this field around the green, which is the number one weighted metric in my entire model.
Yeah, but that's also based on some of the performances towards the tail end of his time spent in the PGA, where he was doing nothing but trying to be a long drive champion. I mean, you got to frame it.
That's the last 24 rounds. Which
how are you getting shot? How are you getting the strokes gain data on the last 24 rounds out of live?
It's in there.
Anyways, so I'm just saying between like him and Brooks, I see Royal saying I smell a bet coming.
Mm-hmm.
I would gladly take Bryson over Brooks.
I think Bryson has more of a chance of being the worst showing live tour guy in the whole field.
Agree to disagree.
I'd rather play Phil Mickelson, who actually was runner-up last year at 50 years old.
We'll see what happens. We can talk wagers later.
Yeah. I'd rather play pretty much everybody except for Bryson. I think he's at he's 81st in my model, so I'm not touching him. I'd rather play Victor Hovland at 40-1, who hasn't had good form since he won the FedEx Cup last year. But for some reason, he just keeps firing coaches and rehiring coaches, and this guy's got a lot of talent to be 40-1.
I think Victor Hovland, like, I love him too, and I think he's on a quest to get his swing where he wants it to be. A lot of his press has been really telling about where his game is. So, I mean, the nice thing about Victor is he's such a world-class player that he can pop up. I mean, even with a relatively brand new swing coach and still working on trying to find his groove and get it to where he wants to. I mean, any given weekend, Victor Hovland can be one of the best players in the world. So
he's back to his old swing coach now, as of today.
Which is good. Which is good. And it's hard to poke any holes in Victor, really. I mean, yeah, he hasn't been playing great, but he can just show up. So I don't hate that. Did we skip right over? No, we're not there yet. Okay, perfect.
There's some guys in this 45-50 range that I absolutely love. Another live guy, another PGA Tour guy that I know you don't like. But who would you take between Cameron Smith and Sahith Theegala, if either?
Sorry, my dog is barking, so I wanted to spare people if you could hear him. I'll be honest, neither is making my card. If I had to pick one, I probably lean Cam Smith on that. I just think he's a world-class around the green guy. He's got some experience here. He's got the grit and major prowess. So Cam Smith, I think, is another guy that, like, when you start talking about the live guys, I would play him probably over almost all of them. If I wasn't so high on Bryson, I probably would firmly say I'd play Cam over any of the other live guys.
I believe Cam Smith withdrew because he shot a really bad first round, and Masters is this week. He shaved off the mullet, though. The mullet is gone.
I think Theegala is interesting. I just don't know. Mm-hmm. I can never really get him right. Like, there's no way to ignore how good he is when he's got it all going. His crux is maybe that he's a little wild off the tee, but I don't necessarily think that that's going to be, catastrophic for him here. No. So I couldn't fault somebody.
So good. I think he'll stay. He'll hang around.
I think I like Willie Z though, and Wyndham Clark right there in that number.
Willie Z
I know
can putt on these surfaces.
Yeah, Willie Z's been okay here.
I love him
the first time around, and he's been very deliberate about the guys that he's been practicing with. He went out with Tiger, got some pointers on a lot of the greens. I think Willie Z, there's a lot of signs coming that he's going to really get some wins under his belt this year. I mean, just watching him play and how he's been performing, and taking that kind of initiative to get out there early, get with the right mentors to figure his way around this course even better. I just really kind of like the attention to detail he's putting into this tournament, and I kind of like his form setting up anyway. And then Wyndham Clark. I mean, Wyndham Clark, if you take Scotty Scheffler out of the equation, Wyndham Clark is probably the hottest player on the tour right this second. And realistically, this course actually sets up really nice for Clark. I mean, I know that he's a first timer, which we tend to shy away from, but it's really hard to poke a hole anywhere that Wyndham's going to struggle at this course. I mean, if anything, he's a little firm with his putting. He's not always stellar around the green, but even that has spikes of brilliance. So I really don't mind either of those guys. And actually, if we're being honest, over Theegala and Cameron Young, who's getting a little bit of steam, both in the betting market as well as in DFS, which I really don't understand. So, but we'll get to the DFS. It's kind of shocking what he's starting to trend at.
Yeah, I agree with you on Cam Young. It's hard to believe in a guy who's never won anything, who has no short game. And from tee to green, he's amazing. But this golf course, you have to get around these greens. You have to be not short-siding yourself. You can't be making mental errors down the stretch. Like he's becoming known for all of these things in a negative way. So yeah, I don't think I want any piece of Cameron Young here. Collin Morikawa is another guy in that same boat where he's better now than he was like 4 months ago, but his putting stroke hasn't been there. His chipping hasn't been solid, and his world-class approach game is kind of middle of the pack this year. And with Morikawa with non-top 10 ball striking is not the same golfer that won 2 majors.
No, it's going to be a long while, I think, before I'm on Morikawa again. Like he's just very lost.
Agreed. Max Homa 55-1 is really long for a guy like that. With his short game, with his approach play, I could get on board with like a half unit and a top 10 kicker on Max Homa, and Russell Henley here sets up well.
I like Russell Henley a hell of a lot more than I like Max Homa.
I like Homa's number more than I like him as a stat guy. Like 55-1 for Max Homa seems like an insult, but Russell Henley is appropriately priced at 55-1, and he's a stat darling here. Like this course sets up super well for Russell Henley, especially with how he's playing. His short game's immaculate. This guy just pours it in on approach. I think the total package, especially since he's not the longest hitter, he makes up for it everywhere else. And we've seen Russell Henley chase some leaderboards this year that he really had no business being a part of. Like last week, Russell Henley even being in the top 10 was crazy because we harped all week that Bomber's advantage at San Antonio. It didn't matter because this guy was sticking it close and making putts from all over the place. I love Russell Henley. I like Max Homa's number, even though he doesn't rate out as well. And then you got your Masters assassin, Patrick Reed, at 70-1. What do you think about Patrick Reed? Because as far as recent form goes, he has none. As far as history in Augusta, Georgia goes, he has as much as anybody.
I don't think I can do it. I think he's a guy. I know you don't agree with this statement, but he's a guy for me that falls into the same type of narrative category as like a Brooks Koepka. Like we just line up to play Patrick Reed at Augusta because he's had some good results. He's won, whatever. But
he's had nothing but good results.
Yeah, but you can't completely ignore form though either. And you
that's
can't.
True.
And so that's why Brooks and him are hitting that list for me, where I just I'm just not buying it this time around. I'm not saying that everything you're saying about them historically isn't true, because it is, but there has to be, you have to temper your expectations with where guys are trending at, and like the two of them just are not in the form that I would anticipate they would have tried to be in for this. Is kind of my thought. So
would you do a 5-1 top 10 bet on Patrick Reed?
No,
I would. I don't know if he'll win, but I think top 10 is a good chance.
I think there's a lot of guys in this field that I just see being there before him. Like honestly, like if you look at the top of this betting board, like it's really hard to put Patty Reed in the middle of that.
It's true. What about our guy, the guy that makes us rich every week, Ashkay Bhatia, 100-1, just got in. San Antonio is kind of a tune-up course for Augusta. You can't ignore the similarities there. Ashkay seems like the hot commodity, and 100-1 is a fun little number to tease us with, is it not?
Yeah, and I think I think I could see him finding his way onto my card right before tee. I mean, I haven't made a decision on him one way or the other. I'm waiting to kind of hear what exactly is going on with the shoulder.
Yeah, it seems like it's still pretty tender. I mean, if you've ever separated your shoulder to any degree, it's not comfortable. I don't know if he can. I think the pain management's not an issue, but being able to find full range of motion on some of the shots that he takes, some of the swings he's taking, it's not comfortable. It's really tough to feel confident in lashing after the ball on a downswing transition. And I think that's where he's having trouble, is trusting his backswing to downswing transition without being a little apprehensive, and you're a little bit off in that part of your swing, and it could be really bad.
Yeah, and for a guy that really has gained my attention because of his ability to shape shots and be creative with irons, anything that could impede that really takes him down a peg or two for me. So like I said, if we get a clean bill of health closer to tee, I'll probably fire it up. But I want to make sure
left shot shape. The right to left shot shape is, I mean, there are countless examples, like disproportionate number of lefties who like to work the ball right to left have won the Masters. Look at Bubba Watson multiple times, Phil Mickelson 3 times. We have all these examples. Mike Weir won the damn Masters. Like, where'd that come from?
Well, and right to left has to be like the preferred shot shape around here. I mean, if you've got to have a format or a go-to, it would definitely be that. So, guys like Bubba Watson, even, some of the
Bubba
creative
could work it any way he wanted. That was the beauty of it. He was so creative up here and so gifted at controlling his hand position at impact that he was made for Augusta National, because you have to be able to imagine the shot coming in to land in those particular areas. And Phil is obviously one of the most talented golfers of all time. He could do that pretty easily. Akshay is kind of in that same bucket, of course not as developed as those two guys at 22, but I can see him making some noise if he's healthy. I'm with you on that. I'll wait and see to see how he's feeling, because it's scary to see that he had to get taped up before he even hit his wedge shot into the playoff hole. That's telling, because he didn't feel 100% on it until he got a little bit of treatment.
What do you think about Tiger?
140. We just saw, was it 5 years ago, 2019? Tiger food poisoning withdrawal from Riviera. Not a big deal. I'm not really caring about that. I want to feel something.
Yeah, same.
I want to see some Sunday red.
You know what's wild, man, is I was listening to Freddie Couples today, who's been playing with him the last couple of days.
Tiger looks good.
He said Tiger looks great. And what else are you gonna say?
174 ball speed for the old man. He still got it.
Well, and Willie Z said that Tiger got him quite a few times in their practice round. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. If Tiger can walk this place, which by everybody's,
that's the tough part, yeah.
But by everybody's evaluation, he's getting around pretty well. I don't know, man. 140.
I like him a lot more than everybody else in that range.
I think it's going to end up being one of those where you could very easily see a path to victory for him, and you'd kick your own ass for not betting him at 140 to 1.
Oh, if he's in the field, I'm betting him. Period.
Yeah. You have to.
I mean, he's got enough green jackets to say that we're wrong for not wanting to bet him. This guy. I mean, we saw Jack win here at 46 years old. Phil damn near won it last year at 50. This place is it's an experienced golfer's paradise, and it doesn't favor somebody unless they're really keen and confident in finding spots. And this course hasn't changed that much. They've lengthened it. They've switched some things around, but it's still same old Augusta National, and I feel really good about that. I have a couple of guys at 200 or more, Phil being one of them. Your guy Jake Knapp, 250 to 1. He's won us money this year.
He's my last one. Yeah, he's my last one.
Intriguing to see a guy with his firepower in this field, because he's either going to miss the cut by a mile or he's going to make some real noise, and we're gonna be talking about him.
Yeah, I think the thing that's most encouraging about him really is that he's got this I guess impression on him that he is like this bomber that gains a ton of strokes off the tee and all that, and that's not it.
But he
is that.
His strength is a short game.
Yeah.
His chipping and putting are incredible. That's why he won in Mexico. It wasn't everybody else was bombing at 350 in Mexico too.
Gained 8.7 strokes on approach in Mexico. And he gained 3.5 strokes putting that week. I mean, it's just wild. And you watch him getting in the ring and boxing with some of these big boys, and he is just so unfazed.
And I mean, his swing is effortless.
Effortless power. That's what he is. I mean,
and he can shape it. He can shape it. That was one thing I was impressed with watching him in Mexico. Is I thought he was just your straight left to right bomber, but this guy can hit draws just fine. And on those draw holes, which I think 9 or 10 of these 18 holes are draw holes, he's going to be just fine. Just fine.
Freaking love him here at 250 to 1. I love Jake Knapp here. Yeah.
And how about another guy who won his way in earlier this season, Mathieu Pavon, the Frenchman. A little bit of a sleeper guy because he won so early in the season. We kind of forgot about him. This guy is a stat darling across the board. Solid. No red flags here. He's accurate on approach. He's really good around the green. His putting has been a little cold lately, but I think he's got the talent.
Yeah, I don't have a good read on him here. I'm with you. I think that he's quietly playing really, really good golf. So yeah, I don't hate that, especially at the odds. It wouldn't fault you one bit.
All right, you didn't really weigh in on Phil. Are we getting another magical run?
No, I'm not.
Last year was pretty awesome, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was. I mean, you can't. Phil's a lot like Tiger here. You can't rule him out, but like I said, I don't want to buckshot this tournament. I want to enjoy it. I want to bet on the 10 guys that I really feel good about.
Yep.
So that's what I'm doing. And okay. Phil ain't gonna make it.
All right. Well, DFS time. We'll join you here after 15 seconds. No trunk slams, Connor, like last 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
That's really cute.
That's really cute.
The club is well. This would be a wrestling slam.
Well, Connor.
Well, Bo.
I hate to remind you, but I have to tell our viewers that I steamrolled you last week by more than a C note, thanks to Ashkay, Bhatia, and a few others. How does that make you feel that you didn't have magical Ashkay in your lineup?
In the one against you, I did not. I had him in like 60% of my lineups, just not the one against you, which...
A classic tale as old as time.
I've
done that many times where my worst lineup is the one against you. So I feel you, brother.
Anything that we do industry wise, like if it's any like other guys that are podcasters or writers, I do these off the wall lineups, and I don't know why. It's just I fire some shots.
You should stick to what you know, and that's calling winners.
It's calling long shot winners. That's what I know.
We know you're good for it. We just don't want you sandbagging in these head-to-heads.
I won't.
Lulling me to sleep with your shitty performances for a month straight, just so that you can run off the rest of the 2/3 of the season that's left and just kill me the rest of the year. I'm waiting for that shoe to drop because it's coming.
I'll be smiling from atop the Millionaire Maker this week. I'll just be like, "Hi, Bo."
Yeah, anyways. That's very possible. Very possible. Top of the board again. Anybody that it's gonna be really tough to avoid chalk this week because it's a limited field. Maybe just a limiting exposure to chalk is an important part here because I want a piece of all these top guys. I'm not gonna expose myself to any of them to avoid kind of that bomb, but you want to start your lineup with a few of the different guys, have a variety. I think I'm going to limit myself to only 20 lineups this week, though, which is going to limit my my exposure to these large field tournaments that are just chock full of a lot of maxed out lineups. It's going to be a minefield in DFS this week because so many more players are going to be in these lobbies.
Yeah, not to get long-winded about it, but you and I talk a lot about that in smaller field major events and times where you're going to have an influx of cash into these bigger GPPs. A lot of times I go the opposite direction. I have a much more condensed lineup or roster pool rather. And then I'll play a lot of single entry, not necessarily lower dollar, but just lower entry quantities, just to knock out some of the guys that are playing 150 lineups in these that literally have a buckshot on 3/4 of the field. So,
right, and you pretty much, that's pure luck lottery pick. If you win, you're getting duped by 100 people. It's not much fun. Even if you hit the nuts, you're not going to be alone.
No, but to answer your question, up at the top, at least as of right now, like the chalk is definitely Scotty and Xander. And Scotty's tipping the scales at probably a projected 28% right now, and that's not including the casual fans that are going to line up to play DraftKings during the Masters. So that number is going to be pretty gross, I think.
And I think I'll cap myself at the 30% mark, just so I don't get caught up in the hoopla. 28 seems fine. 25 seems fine. 35, I think I want to be below a 35 or 40% number, especially if it goes that direction. Knowing that Xander's going to be chalky because he's popping, he's an automatic top 10 guy. Is he going to win? Is he going to score the most points here? Probably not. And that's why I'll kind of limit myself to 20% of Xander, because even though I like him here, I don't love him here.
Yeah, what I find interesting with Xander this week is the price is actually really good for a guy that will definitely land in the top 10, but not necessarily win. At 9,900, you don't actually need him to win. And it allows you to build a really, really balanced lineup and not really dip too low in the salary here. Like problem with playing Scotty or even Rahm to some extent, I think you got yourself in a price range where you start looking down the board and it gets a little slimmer towards the 5 and 6 spot in your roster.
It gets ugly quick. It gets really ugly quick. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're going to get guys in at the top, which I'll have a taste of all of them, Rory, John, and Scotty for me. I'll have some of all of them. I would say don't be afraid to skip the chalk at the top and build a really strong 9,000. Like you can get 3 9K guys that are very live to win here too. That could potentially outperform those guys too. So don't limit yourself to starting at the top this week is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm just trying to build out some lineups while we're talking here. I like Rahm here a lot because he's, for some reason, a defending champion on the betting side. 11-1's crazy. And for the top of the board, he's not really getting a ton of chalk, and I'm surprised by that. Do you think that'll change?
It's funny. I don't actually, because I think the casual fan is going to Rory as I've watched that number move. Because when I loaded up my model yesterday, Rory was trending around 12.5, and he's all the way up to 16.8 right now. So
that's pretty impressive swing there.
So I think it's going to be Scotty and Rory at the top for a lot of people, which is going to leave us a lot of opportunity to get shares of John. And Rahm is one of my favorites to win this week as well. So I don't hate taking a stand on Rahm, who's projected in the low to mid teens. It's easy to get overweight on Rahm that way.
I think I want to slam that.
I don't see why I'd try and stop you.
It seems really crazy to me that he's not getting more chalk. I'm just building out a little bit of a player pool here, and I'm stopping after just it's really hard to not click a star next to some of these guys, but they're rating out so poorly. But I want to get a glimpse at some of these next tier guys, the 9K range. What do you think? It just seems like we're getting a very clear concentration at the top where everybody's starting their lineups, and then the mid and lows it's gonna be so easy to avoid chalk down below this week that I'm feeling pretty confident that we're gonna slam some winners, because even if I max myself out at 25% on Matsuyama at 9K, I'm going to get enough exposure to him, even though I like him. I don't love him at 24% owned. I mean, am I missing something? Because everybody else is starting their lineups with Xander and Hideki, or Scotty and Hideki, and then it's everybody else in this area that I love is super leveraged.
I think a lot of people are going to Hideki because of his course history here. Hideki's
it's unmistakable.
Hideki is incredible at Augusta.
Yes.
And frankly, we've kind of been on him the last 2 weeks too, so the form is there as well. So to your point,
Hideki, just don't get over your skis on him.
No, I think to your point, I think a good rule of thumb would be pick your guys at the top, set yourself a percentage, go down to Hideki, and don't exceed 25%, which is basically what the field is right now.
Yeah.
Get different elsewhere, because I think Hideki's an excellent play here. It seems as though the health concerns he had last week have subsided. It seems like a lot of the kind of fine tuning he needed to do got done last week. So
he looked really good on Sunday. My God.
But if I'm being honest, the guy for me up here is Will Zalatoris. I've already talked in the betting segment on why I like him so much.
That's so nice.
9,200. He's only $200 more than Hideki, and he's literally half the rostership. So for another guy that's been playing well, is rounding into perfect form, sets up well here, is getting the right guidance to get around the course. Will Zalatoris 9,200 seems like a good play.
Am I missing something? But why is Patrick Cantlay only 3% owned?
I think there's some concern over an injury with him. There's something going on with him, and I saw it as I was scrolling Twitter. I can try and find it while you're talking about the mid tier here.
Yeah, so I mean, Jordan Spieth rates out really well for me, at least in the DFS side, because he scores points. He scrambles around here. He's a past champion, only 14% owned. Ludwig Oberg, I don't think is priced appropriately here. He's kind of a fish out of water at 9,100. I think he's about 1,000 overpriced for this field, so I'm gonna skip him, even though he's only 12%, and go to Cam Smith and Dustin Johnson at 11 and 8% respectively, and even JT here. I know he's been kind of up and down this year, but JT's wedge game, JT's short game here really plays. 8.5% is a crazy leverage point. And same with Max Homa at 5%. That's insanity. As we go through the eights, I'm even on Bryson and DFS because he's got the firepower to put up a big score. Even though I don't think he's going to have any chance to win, I do think that if he makes the cut, he's going to be among the top 10 scorers in DFS.
I'm sorry, it sounded a lot like you said you might play some Bryson.
Bryson's in the pool. He's in the pool.
No, I can't turn up anything on Cantlay. The undisclosed injury withdrawal from the last tournament, and apparently still questionable as to what exactly is going on with him. So
sounds like a perfect place to exploit leverage.
It does, but he's Xander Schauffele. I mean, he's cheaper here, but they kind of got the exact same type of scoring prowess. They got the exact same type of finishing.
Xander's ultra chalky and Cantlay's 3%.
I kind of like the idea of playing neither of them here. But
I'm just trying to figure it out why it's so low. Like, I get that he hasn't been great. I get that he's been a little dinged up, but he's still Patrick Cantlay.
Yeah, you can't argue it. I mean, Patrick Cantlay is not in great form, but he is historically one of the most consistent players on tour. So, yeah, you never know, and you can also never rule him and Xander, breaking out of this trend of a never-ending string of top fives. So, yeah, I mean, play at your own risk. I'm just
looking at some of these guys that I absolutely can't stand. They're not even in the pool, that are the chalkiest guys in this next range. And I'm just so excited to talk about it, but I want to let you go.
Yeah, in the eights, like I said, the main guys I'm looking at are, I'm probably going to take a pass on Justin Thomas. I can't stop chasing Justin Thomas and throwing more and more money at him every week. This is not exactly a get right spot. So
I love JT, but the Masters, man, it's tough. It's tough on a guy who's scuffling.
If I'm taking any one-off, breaking my trends and taking any shots, Tony Finau has excellent course history here.
Yeah, he's chalky though. So is Cam Young. I'm going to fade both of them.
What the Cam Young thing is the thing that bothers me the most in this region is
17% for him. That's ridiculous.
I thoroughly don't get that. But no, in
Morikawa and Homa are at 6% and 7% and 5%.
Yeah, I mean, in the eights, really, it's a lot of Bryson for me. But I'm going to be doing some stuff at the top where I probably won't have a ton of play in the eights, except for the balance lineups that I do. So, probably looking at Bryson. I'll probably take a couple shots at Cam Smith in the high 8s and some of those balance builds, but not a lot of ownership needing to go to Justin Thomas,
So
Tony
get
Finau.
this. As we go down to the low at 8K flat and below, the chalky plays are Shane Lowry at 20%, no. Matt Fitzpatrick 7,900 at 16%, no. Sahith Theegala at 22% at 7,700. He'll be in the pool, but I'm definitely going to drop him down to 15%. And Corey Connors at 17%.
Explain Corey Connors to me. Like, I don't, dude.
The guy with the 87th rated short game in this field at Augusta National is not going to do well here. At 17%, you're going to eat dirt with 17% of your friends. I'd much rather drop down a couple $100 and load up on Russell Henley, who's also chalky at 18%, 7,200. Akshay Bhatia is not chalky; he's leveraged at 8%. And I'm with Reed here. Even at 12%, I'm gonna take a 10% shot on him. But he's more of a like a dark horse to win than a DFS play, in my opinion. So I'm really gonna be just careful here because Theegala and Henley are my chalk favorites here that I will play. But how easy is it to fade our guys Lowry, Fitz, and Connors? It's like the gift from the gods above that those are the chalky options here.
For sure. And when you look at Henley, Rose, Bhatia, and Siwoo, who I love Siwoo Kim this week. Mm-hmm. All in the low 7s, all have a really good course fit here. Henley and Rose.
Fire.
Henley, and Siwoo's playing better than he's probably ever played in his life.
More consistent, at least.
Has actually done okay here. But Henley and Rose, Rose is 13th in strokes gained total at Augusta over 24 rounds measured. And Henley is right behind him at 14 in his overall strokes gained total.
They are Rose is 5th and Henley is 6th in my model.
8th and 10th in mine. So
see, we're on the same guys.
So in DFS they just make entirely too much sense when you're down here in the 7s. So and
Henley and Siwoo are both chalky, but your guy Rose is 4.6. That's a mega leverage spot at 7,200.
Yeah, and Rose is not somebody that I wake up Thursday morning and I'm super excited to have him in my rosters, but
he's so consistent, and especially with the ball striking here, where it's the pressure, the experience factor, he's gonna be there.
I tend to think so. And then like I already said, Batia's right there, and I in DFS I'll probably take a few shots, even if the shoulder's questionable. I'll probably have Bhatia going in some rosters.
I know I will. I know I will. I just love him so much. He's made me a good bit of coin recently. So as we drop down into value picks, we already mentioned Pavone and Sir Eldrick Woods, 69 and 6,800, both very low ownership and excellent. Explain 8.6% Sergio Garcia over 2.1% Tiger Woods, because I know Sergio coughed up another choke job in Miami last week on the Live Tour, but I just don't understand anybody rooting for Sergio, rooting for him, betting on him, playing him in DFS. I don't understand it. I will never do that.
I think you got people that are trying to play live guys, and I think he's coming off
he's the lowest on the totem pole for live, in my opinion.
Well, probably, but he's also got the most recent good finish. So I don't know.
He was gonna finish good until he didn't.
I mean, Sergio is not necessarily the worst thing you could do at Augusta. He's not for me. I'm not saying that, but I understand why people are gravitating towards him. I think with Tiger, the reason that ownership is staying down on him is not that people don't think that he could win here, and it's not that people don't think that he's probably the most knowledgeable, well-rounded player at Augusta. It's the fact that it's really questionable of whether or not he's going to be able to make it.
Right. Not withdraw.
So,
although last time he withdrew was because he was actually just sick. He had food poisoning or stomach flu or something. So
Augusta's just rough, man. It's not an easy walk.
Like you said, like we both said, there is not a single flat spot on this property, not one, except for on the tee boxes.
I'm gonna play Tiger. I can't not play Tiger.
I'm definitely playing Tiger. I'm also playing Jake Knapp at 6,600.
Jake
He's
Knapp's
only
probably
2.8% owned, and because I'm ultra homer and he's leveraged, Kurt Kitayama 6,400.
I have him started as well.
Bingo. Who else do I have down here? I think that's.
So I have two down here. I have Adam Hadwin and I have Taylor Moore. And Taylor Moore is mostly a form thing. Taylor Moore has been in excellent form. And
by far the chalkiest value play on the board.
It would rightfully so. Like if this was any other course, he would not be anywhere near this cheap. He'd be up in the mid sevens. I mean, so
it's the field, and he's 15% down there. So Siwoo and Taylor Moore are your chalk value plays by far. Nobody else really close. But Denny McCarthy, the most mispriced person in this field, is getting 8.2%. He'll be in my field. I just added him back. I don't know how I missed him, but 6,200 for a guy that is as hot as Denny McCarthy. I just think that's a misprice. Obviously, the pricing came out before he made his back 928.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what his mental state is this week. For me, I'm probably a pass on him, mostly because I'm not getting down to this price point that much. And frankly, if I'm down here,
you've lost.
you and I have actually talked about this on prior shows. Like I've been kind of saying right along that I like how Kitayama sets up here. And so Taylor Moore and Kitayama are my guys down there with Jake Knapp. Those I'm really not getting creative down here. It's those three for me.
Hi, Rachel. That's about.
And 6'8" Christo Lumprecht.
Yeah. Any love for Mr. Shuffles, Brian Harman?
No.
No, me neither. Thanks for the question, Royal, but
I can elaborate. I mean, I just watched what he did the last couple of tournaments. The approach game's been a little bit off. And the strength of Brian Harman's game is consistent and solid putting. The problem is if you're having to save pars, getting up and down, that's not always Harman's forte. I'd like him if I knew he was going to stick close shots, and not even close shots, just stick greens and be one putt and stuff. That's more of a Harman.
Distinct gap between his scoring average on shorter courses versus longer courses. Over 7,300 yards, he's like 4 shots worse than if it's under. Augusta and San Antonio both being 7,500 plus. That's why you're struggling, because you're getting long iron approach Brian Harman, which is not nearly as good as short iron approach Brian Harman. So at Augusta National, where you're going to be hitting a lot of mid to long irons into these very, very, very fast screens, I just don't see it. What do you think? Who's going to win this damn thing?
Oh.
You going to say Bryson just for the chaos?
No, I'm not. I'm going to stick with my heart and the narrative that I want to see play out in my head. I would never forgive myself if Rory got it done and I wasn't saying Rory wins this outright. So
he's number one in my model, but I think that you're going to see Brooks Koepka finally get his. And I know you disagree, but I love Brooksy this week. I think he's going to stun everybody by going super duper low.
We shall see, because my first round leader is Bryson.
Yeah, because we know he's going to come out firing. He's going to be very aggressive. He's got the chops to do it. Whether or not he can sustain it, like over the last couple of years where he's been runner up, we saw him kind of lose his focus down the stretch, which was unlike him. But yeah, if he comes out first round leader, like you said, I don't think there's any chance he's giving it up this year. He's got too much riding on it. But yeah, Brooks Koepka at 14 under is my pick.
Shall we go to the hat? Who almost
damn near won the damn thing. The Todd father with a 3rd place finish or 4th place finish.
Number 35 in my model. Number 35 in my model The hat has taken Matt Fitzpatrick to win the Masters.
It could happen. He's a major winner.
Dude, the hat's kind of been fire. Chan Kim with a hole-in-one. The Todd father last week. And now
35th in my model, if you want an alternate hat pick, is Justin Thomas.
Dude, the hat. I'm not coming next week. The hat will just be on screen the whole time.
Right. You got 2 major winners in the hat. So there you go. From Conor Coughlin Bo McBrayer next week, the RBC Heritage from Hilton Head, Harbor Town, South Carolina, which I know you've been there before. Plaid jacket and all. Enjoy the Masters, enjoy the pageantry, the green jackets, the azalea cocktails that I polished off because it's so delicious.
Green jackets, green screens.
Let's go. Thank you for joining us. Let's hit the outro.